Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me on today's webinar. My name's Daniel Marsh, and I'm a Business Development Manager here at Zyzel UK. So today we're going to be exploring the advantages of Wi-Fi 6 and how it can ultimately grow your business. As we know, as technology improves over the years, so does the wireless and the networking as well, to allow the faster versions of data and things like that to be able to improve your networks. So we're going to just go through a few facts at the moment. Typically speaking, on average, a user checks their phone around 85 times a day. That equates to around 5 hours a day. So as you can imagine, everybody now with the new smartphones have got pretty much everything at their fingertips. I mean, even for business purposes, you've got expenses apps, you've got tracking apps and things like that. When you've got engineers out in the field, you've got all the booking systems and things like that. So again, phones are becoming quite a useful tool for businesses. So as that increases, so does the wireless requirements. So it is estimated that about 7 billion businesses will be connected to the internet in 2020, and 20 billion devices specifically will be connected to the internet, and they're only going to increase as we move on through the years and as technology improves. Now, this isn't stipulated to any certain vertical. This can be anything from hospitals, restaurant, cafes, hospitality, education, and retail. And obviously, as we know as well, with the recent epidemic that we're currently dealing with the new track and trace apps that you're getting on your phones, within all sort of verticals, you're going to have to sort of use your QR code and things like that. So again, mobiles are being utilized to all forms of sort of track and trace and public safety as well. So with that being AX, the 802.11ax wireless standard has been released, and we do have quite a few devices available, which can all be managed as well using our cloud platform called Nebula. So some of the three distinct benefits of Wi-Fi 6 is the improvement in the theoretical sort of top speed. So typically speaking, you can get about 9.6 gigabit per second. Obviously, that's a massive capacity increase from its legacy AC standard of around 4 times that. And it will still support the dual bands as well, so the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz bands. So if we start looking at some of the features within inside the Wi-Fi 6, so I'm not going to go into too much technical details, but if you do need me to expand on this, there is a questions and answer sections at the end. So we do an 8x8 multi-MIMO on download and upload. So that's being able to sort of deal with the data at a much faster speed than the previous 4x4s, which was on the legacy AC. The OFDMA has also been brought into it, which is a very good way of reutilizing the channel to ensure users get the traffic much easier. I've got a little bit of a screen to show that as well, a bit more visually rich. The 1024 QAM, so this is a form of modulation which is increased with Wi-Fi 6. So the higher the modulation, the more data and speed that you can get across your wireless connection. The BSS color, that's quite interesting because that helps reduce any potential interference as well. So if you've got multiple access points in a location, a client will be allocated what's called like a color code as such, and that will be associated to a specific access point. So it'll know that that access point is its closest and more reliable form of access to the internet. So it will pick that, and it won't flick between potentially if you're in the middle of 2 access points, it won't flick between the two and cause issues on that. And the TWT, so the target wake up time, this is a way of clients actually being able to switch off its wireless connectivity until it's required to use it. So it's a form of actually saving power on the client devices. And we know with mobile phones, you get a mobile phone, the battery lasts really well. As time goes on, it gets worse to the point where you've got to pretty much charge it up every 4 or 5 hours, depending on what model it is. So this again is there to improve things such as that. So your battery lifetime on your laptops, on your phones, on your tablets, etc. So just going to go through some of the real world improvements over the legacy Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi 4, which is the 802.11n, the Wi-Fi 5, which is the 802.11 AC, Wave 2 specifically on this slide, and then the Wi-Fi 6, which is obviously the new 802.11 AX. So as you can see, looking at the actual comparison, the maximum theoretical speed, the connectivity under 2x2 and 4x4 spatial streams has massively sort of improved. So you can see that the Wi-Fi 6 technology is there to improve all your network connectivity. And again, this is part of the improvements to help verticals and resellers and clients make the most out of their wireless connectivities, because everybody nowadays uses laptops, and to run cables everywhere can be a bit counterproductive and expensive. So just to go through some sort of technical improvements, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. All this information will be sent up to you on the slides, and if you've got any questions, then I'm always here to expand on it, provide you sort of demonstrations as well. So as you can see, the wireless end was released in 2009, followed by the AC in 2013, and then the AX in 2019. So you can see the sort of level in which the wireless improves over time. So as you can see, there's improvements in terms of modulation. So again, what I've said about the modulation is you have the as the modulation increases, your connection to the access point is increased, allowing you to push more data through to it. So that is a distinct improvement over the AX, because it means that you're getting that better level of connection speed. So one thing that I want to go into a bit of depth is the OFDM, which is the previous legacy versions for the A, N, and AC standards, compared to the OFDMA, which has now been brought out for the wireless AX. So as you can see, the original OFDM, in terms of like the timing slots, each color represents a user. So that means that that user can only get data when it's been allocated its correct timing slot within inside the access point. And with the AC in that lot, it's each timing slot is for one separate user. However, with the OFDMA, which is more of like a cellular technology, which is used for like mobile phones and cellular network, the OFDMA actually allows the channels to be broken up so that it can serve multiple clients at the same time. So it means that the information is actually getting to the client device quicker, because it's being able to allocate a timing slot much sooner than it would have been able to in its legacy OFDMA version. So if you've got a client that's transferring a lot of data, you would have to wait quite a while to get your data. But with the OFDMA, it kind of gets rid of it. So just to put that in a bit, on the left-hand side where you can see the spatial going down the street, so this is one particular user, and because that's being served its data and that's on the road, any other user is then stuck behind it, causing congestion and ultimately delaying the delivery of your data. However, on the right-hand side, which represents the 802.11 AX, you'll see that there's multiple lanes in which all cars can be served, or all clients can be served at any one time. So this is quite important to understand, because albeit that you might be connected to the wireless access point, you'll be able to get your data. It's important to know that at the other side of the bridge is going to be your cable network. So you need to make sure the capacity of your backbone network is capable of dealing with the capacity of the wireless. So whenever you specify any projects or anything like that, if you're looking at increasing your Wi-Fi, it's always recommended to look into your backbone as well, because there's no point in upgrading your access points if your cable network isn't going to support that level of traffic. So the access points which we have available currently, so we've got the NWA 110AX, the 210AX, which is sort of, they're focused towards ETEL, so they're the sort of lower end range. You'll see that the 110AX comes with a 1 gigabit Ethernet port, but then as you move up to the 210AX, you get a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port. So this is what I say about thinking about your cable network, and we'll go into this in a little bit more detail later on in this presentation. Is if you are using a gigabit network, then ultimately you're going to be causing congestion, because these access points can allow faster throughput over the wireless. Therefore, you want faster throughput through your cable network. So, and as we move up the product set, so we've got the WAX 510D, the 610D, and then the 650S. Now, the dual optimized antennas means that they can either be mounted on a ceiling or a wall, and I've got a really good diagram to explain the benefits over that. And as you can see as well, they've got a 2.5 gigabit variation as well. Now, when you get up to the top range, the WAC 650S, now you'll see that this has it's got smart antenna, which I'll go into very shortly as well. That's a very good feature to improve connectivity user experience and also to reduce potential interference in the environmental settings. This also has a 5 gigabit Ethernet port on it, which is its uplink, meaning that ultimately you can transfer 5 gig down that through that access point down the cable network. Good thing is all these access points are available either in standalone mode or they can be used as well with our Nebula cloud management platform as well, where you can easily manage it all under one pane of glass. So let me just go into the dual optimized antenna. So typically speaking, a traditional access point is optimized for like ceiling mounting. Now there's cases where mounting on the ceiling just becomes counterproductive and could be quite expensive. So if you look at actually mounting it on a wall and it's in a ceiling configuration, you'll see that it'll actually cause interference between sort of floor 1, floor 2, and floor 3 because of how the radio beams out. So as you can see, the interference is highlighted on there, and that will actually affect every client on every access point on all the floors. What Zyxel have got, they've got a physical hardware switch on the access point that allows you to switch it to a wall mounting configuration. And this is a physical hardware development within the access point. So when you actually turn that on and switch it to wall, you'll actually notice that it will actually squeeze the beam and push it out, reducing the interference. So it becomes interference free if you're mounting it on a wall. And this is really important to understand, because if you start putting access points which are only optimized for the ceiling and you're mounting them on the wall, potentially you're going to provide yourself with black spots because you're not going to be able to provide the additional coverage you need, as well as the fact that you're going to be causing interference as well with neighboring access points on different levels and different floors. So that is really important to understand. So the next big thing is smart antenna. Now, what is smart antenna and how does smart antenna work? So we all know that a microwave operates on 2.4 gigahertz. So if you've got a 2.4 gigahertz access point and you switch on a microwave, you're going to cause a level of interference within the environment. And as you can see, it does broadcast out and it will affect everybody. It doesn't matter if you're actually near the access point, near the clients. As long as you're near the access point, you're causing interference, that's going to affect the clients as shown on the diagram. So smart antenna is very good because what it does is it provides each client an optimized radio pattern out of 700 available. And what it will actually do is interference. It'll look at the environmental factors. It takes less than 100 milliseconds to provide an optimized radio pattern per client that is guided away from the interference. So as you can see, based on the previous diagram I showed you to this one, it's actually more of a narrow beam pointing it towards the client and away from the interference. And therefore, the microwave in this environment isn't causing any issues. So again, smart antenna is very good, especially for high congested networks where you've got a high user count, because one thing that you'll also notice is that if you've got a poor client on an access point that doesn't have smart antenna, if they've got really poor modulation, the access point is having to work harder. Therefore, every other client on that access point's modulation will also drop, and they will all be suffering an issue of slow speeds and unreliable wireless connectivity. So that's something really important to bear in mind. Now, as I've said, because the access points are increasing and the capacity is increasing, we've started introducing 5 gigabit ports and things like that onto it. Now, your traditional switches that you've been using today are all probably gigabit switches when it comes to the PoE section. You might have 10 gigabit backbones, but to the end client, to the access point, it will be a gig. So what we've is what's called a multi-gig switch, which also supports PoE++. So PoE++ is allowing you to provide power of 60 watt per port to the access point, because as the wireless access points are improved, so is the power consumption as well, because of all the technology and the physical hardware requirements in there. So when you're looking at trying to implement a new network, it is key to know that obviously the type of cable you're going to be using is going to have a massive impact. So typically speaking, you're going to see Cat 5e, Cat 6, and Cat 6a throughout any installations that you do. And it's good to know the comparisons in what you can actually achieve on it. So when you come to the 1 gig, they can all support it up to 100 meters, because obviously the 100-meter limitations are unfortunately there. 2.5 gigahertz, again, all of them can support up to 100 meters, and so can it on the 5 gigabits. But when you're looking at going a 10 gigabit on your network, you need to look at Cat 6 and Cat 6a. And this is a PoE requirement. So being able to power an access point that requires 60 watts, yeah, if you're looking for a 10 gig connectivity, which will probably be out in the near future on later access points, you'll see that you can only get 55 meters out of a Cat 6, but you can still get your 100 meters from Cat 6a. So if you are looking at doing any cabling work, I'm sure you're already implementing the Cat 6a into the buildings. So the multi-gig switches, they are quite small switches. So we only have a 10-port and a 12 PoE switch, a 12-port PoE switch. So some of the benefits of this is they are very quiet in terms of operating. So being able to put them in a small business isn't going to upset anybody, because it's not going to be sat there with the fans wheeling around. You've got clear indications on the actual unit in terms of the status of it, so the power, the system light, as well as the cloud light that lets you know that it's onboarded onto Nebula. But it also shows your PoE budget as well, so you can just look at the actual switch and see if potentially you need to look at increasing the amount of switches you've got for the PoE that you're delivering, as well as the fact it'll show you the cable speeds as well on the LEDs. One button we do have is a restore button. So as a lot of you are probably aware, in the past, if you speak to an ISP and you've got an issue, they tell you to reset your firewalls and things like that. Now, I've had instances where people have started resetting switches, which has removed VLAN configurations and caused massive issues. So what they've implemented is a restore button, and this allows you to save a custom default onto the unit. So if, for instance, someone does reset the switch, you can just speak to them and go, right, press the restore button. Even if you reset the switch to factory default, that configuration is still present. So if you press the restore button, it will actually put it all back to how it was. As I've said, the multi-gig ports, they can support up 100 meg, 1 gig, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig on copper ports. So this goes back to my previous slide about Cat 5e, Cat 6, and Cat 6a. So you need to obviously bear in mind what capacity you're looking for is dictated by the quality of the cable that you're using. So as I've said, the PoE++, which is also known as Ultra PoE, or for the standard, it's 802.3 BT. So this supports up to 60 watts per port, and with a PoE budget of 375 watts, even though this switch is really small in terms of size, it can provide you everything you need for a decent Wi-Fi AX setup. And as I say, being able to do the 5 gig and 10 gig means that you can improve the capacity, hopefully without replacing any cabling if you've already got the Cat 6a in there. And obviously we do have the uplink ports on it as well. So 10 gig uplink ports, 4 on the 12 HP and 2 on the 1930 10 model. So let's understand the competition a bit. So let's see where these multi-gig switches fit in terms of our competitors in terms of features and supported facilities. So as you can see, we're comparing it here down to Netgear and D-Link. You can see we've got an 8-port which do all multi-gig, so that's 100 meg, 1 gig, 2.5, 5 gig, and 10 gig. However, with the Netgear equivalent and the D-Link equivalent, they do only provide either a 1 gig or a 10 gig only. So if you think about our top access point, which has a 5 gigabit port, it's not something you're going to be able to use within the Netgear or the D-Link one because of that limitation of their ports. In regards to the the amount of SFP plus ports. So again, 10 gig ports. We provide 2 in comparison with the Netgear that will only provide you 1, and the D-Link which has 4. So obviously a bit of an increase on the SFP plus ports there in comparison to us to the D-Links. We need to bear in mind obviously the capacity in which ours works for the multi-gig and the actual 802.3 BZ standard which has been brought out. As you can see as well, we do have a layer 3 light mode, so being able to do static routing on these as well. So in comparison with the Netgear, they only do a layer 2, and the D-Link are with us on that one with a layer 3 light. More importantly as well is being able, the hybrid mode, so being able to put it on our cloud management platform. Ours supports both cloud and standalone. However, our competitors only unfortunately use the standalone, meaning that the management of ours can be a lot easier because it's all available within the Nebula platform. And then also as well, one of the main things is the acoustic. So the actual noise of the access point it actually makes in comparison to our competitors is also a lot quieter. So if you're deploying them in classrooms, in hotel rooms, for instance, you're not going to want an access point which is causing a lot of noise and disruptions. And yeah, as I've mentioned before as well, the restore to last custom as well has been implemented on ours where it hasn't on any of our competitors. So you can see that looking at some of the features that we have, and with a price point as well, we are definitely competitive in the market and allow the best sort of connectivity for wireless. So looking at the HP version, so as you can see, comparing it to the Ubiquiti and the Netgear, we've got 8 multi-gig ports opposed to the 4, and as you can see, the Netgear one has 6 2.5 gigabit ports as well, so they don't even go up to the 5 gig either. We're all in pair on the SFP plus ports, and ourselves and Ubiquiti obviously provide the correct standards as well for the multi-gigabit links. So looking at our competitors, you can obviously see that we've got the PoE budget indicator, so visually rich to be able to actually see what PoE budget you're using. And we all use a layer 3 light at this stage as well. And being able to, again, put it on the cloud and have it in standalone mode is quite a unique selling point for ourselves because we support both of them. To which Nebula it does come free, and it does also allow you to have a Pro Pack version for the more advanced features and the more such as mesh and things like that you can implement on the actual access points. So the access points that we have available today, they can come in a single pack, a triple pack, and for a couple of them you can actually get them into a 5-pack as well. It is key to note as well, I mean, I've had this question today, if you're going to buy them, you need to have a look to whether or not it's included with a power adapter or not. If you buy the one which isn't with a power adapter, which is usually a triple pack or a 5-pack, because that would insinuate that usually you're going to use it with a PoE switch. So make sure you check whether or not it comes up with a power supply. If it doesn't, we can provide you one. There is a part code for an individual power supply that will actually allow you to power it. And then as I say, the 2 multi-gig switches we have available at the moment with PoE are the XS1930 models, and that either in a 10 or a 12 HP. So they're the model, the SKU numbers, so the product numbers that you need to order them through distribution. Yeah, if you've got any questions or you need me to expand on any sort of features and see what's available, even if you want an online demonstration of the Nebula platform, then feel free to get in touch with either the sales office or myself. You can reach me on LinkedIn or you can email me at daniel.marsh@zeisel.co.uk. So that really concludes today's webinar in terms of Wi-Fi 6. So if you've got any questions, then feel free. On your screen, you should have a question section available. So just feel free to post any on there, and I'll keep the webinar open for a few minutes. One thing I do want to mention as well is that we are currently running an MSP campaign. So this MSP campaign's got quite a few advantages for our resellers. So it's a way of Zyzel helping you increase your margins and working more towards an MSP model. So an MSP is a managed service provider. So not only do you offer the hardware to the actual customers, but you'll also offer a service on top of that. Now this can be either billed on a monthly basis, an annual basis, and can usually be in a contractual term for a couple of years. So it means you're securing the business with your reseller and being able to increase your revenue over time by offering a subscription model. Whereas what you could do is you could purchase all the equipment outright or have a look at a leasing option, which we are currently looking into. And then you can spread the cost for your customer, so your customer doesn't actually see a massive hit all of a sudden. They'll pay on a monthly basis. And then what you might find is within the first year, all of the kit, everything is actually being covered by the monthly payments. And then anything on from that, so if you've tied them into a 3-year, 5-year term, anything beyond that becomes a 100% profit. You will see that there is a handout as well for our MSP campaign on showing you how to join it. So if you download that, it's a PDF. You'll be able to click on the link, and it'll direct you to exactly where you need to go on the website. If you scroll down on the website and contact us, fill out all the information, then one of the MSP team will give you a call. Now, some of the advantages that you get from becoming an MSP, once you've gone through everything and become Nebula certified, which there is a free voucher available for Nebula training, and you will actually get a certificate at the end of this. So what you find is that you'll get an upfront discount of all Nebula licenses of around 25%. You'll get gold level ZAP discount on SMB and cloud products of 9%. So if you're only an ally and you're not being able to make benefit of any discounts, then you can actually become an MSP, get validated as being an MSP partner, and then start taking benefits of 9%. You'll also get priority access to our pre-sales and post-sales support right here in the UK. So such as myself and my colleague Nigel, who's a sales engineer down in the London area, we'll be able to help you, whether it be speccing up a project, help you with the implementation, the configuration, all the technical aspects as well. And once you've conducted some live technical training, when obviously we can run it, then you will get free Nebula products. So I can see a few questions have been coming through while I've been discussing through the MSP. So what cost is involved in the training? So at the minute, Stephen, for Nebula, if you are an MSP and you run through the MSP journey with us, there is a way for you to get a free training voucher for Nebula and get certified on that. Otherwise, I think it's around $399 euros at the moment, which can be it can be all done online through our Academy campus. So if you just type in Google or something, Zyzel Academy Campus, have a look on there. All our level 1 ZCNE courses are available on there. And as I say, there are ways of getting vouchers, but at the moment we are only dealing with the Nebula and the MSP vouchers at the moment. So if you're interested, then get in touch with us and we can start getting you on this MSP journey with us and start getting you certified. And you can start taking benefit of these additional advantages. So in regards to the online demo access, if you're talking about Nebula, if you go to nebula.zyzel.com, there is an experience live demo, and it'll actually allow you to go through Nebula and have a look at the configurations. It is an administrator account, so you can have a look what the settings are, what it's available to do. I'm more than happy to do an online demonstration, show you a working site as well here in the UK. But if you go on there, it's got the username and passwords to allow you to do that experience live demo and basically play around with it and see if it's to your liking. So yeah, what I'll do is, Stephen, as soon as we've finished the webinar, I'll drop you an email and then we'll go from there. And then if you've got any questions, once you've started looking into it, I'll be able to answer them a little bit more in detail. And as I say, I'm more than happy to run through a live demonstration. And if you've got any projects or any end users that are interested in upgrading to the next generation of wireless and things like that, then I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you and your end user and discuss the benefits and what Zyzor can do not only for you but for the end user as well. So for me, for today's webinar, that's about everything. I've obviously gone through the wireless 6 and the advantages and the benefits, introduced the multi-gig switching, which is a requirement for the Wi-Fi AX access points. As I say, if you do have any further questions, then feel free to email me at daniel.marsh@zyzor.co.uk. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I often put quite a few posts on there, and I'm more than happy as well to share any posts that our resellers put on as well to help promote them and to help grow them through the LinkedIn social media. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you have a good rest of your day and have a good weekend as well. Thank you ever so much. Take care.